Now, David Cameron has urged leaders of Commonwealth countries to launch a crackdown on corruption in government and international sport. Speaking at the Commonwealth Summit in Malta, he said the problem was holding back progress.
In my view, this issue needs to have a much higher billing on the international agenda. Not just because fighting corruption is right in itself, but all the other things we want to achieve as countries and as members of the Commonwealth depend on our success in doing so. If we want fair economic growth, we need to root out corruption.
Well, the Prime Minister is due to give more details of his plans at a news conference in Malta over the next half hour or so. And he's also been talking to Commonwealth leaders about how they can stop extremist ideologies taking hold in their countries and the importance of dealing with corruption as well. Well, here with me to discuss all those issues is Olivier Guita, who's an international security and risk consultant. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
So a lot of issues being talked about at this summit, but let's focus on what David Cameron is talking about today, and that's this issue of corruption. He's saying clamping down on corruption in government and in sport can be good for the economy and for security as well. Is he right to make that kind of link, do you think?
Look, partially right, because it's true that in some countries in Africa and the Middle East, we've seen how corruption is the first step, if you will, about breeding terrorism. So we've had cases in Nigeria of corruption recently of ex-government official allegedly stealing money, and that could possibly be really propaganda for Boko Haram, for instance. So he's partially right. But there are other issues to tackle when it comes to de-radicalization, with information sharing between the countries. There are a lot of different levels that it could be looking at as well. But it's true that corruption and endemic corruption, as we've seen in some cases, when it goes from the president down to the policeman, is having an effect on global security as well.
But what impact will it have at a meeting like this in Valletta? We're looking at some of the live pictures there now from Malta. What effect does it have, saying it in a meeting of leaders? I mean, saying, oh, you must stop corruption around the world. What difference does it actually make?
Not much, really. When it comes to clamping down on corruption, obviously justice has to be really one of the first priorities. So when we've seen cases of corruption and people getting away with it, then it's not really sending the right message, and you are correct. Saying it is one thing, but enforcing it will be the difference.
You talked about some of the other things that need to be done if international security is going to be improved. There are discussions underway as well in Malta about radicalisation and extremism. To what extent are we seeing increasing international cooperation on issues such as this in the wake of some of the attacks around the world that we've seen?
Unfortunately, as of now, even within the European Union, we cannot get France and Belgium to talk about different groups and individuals. So it's going to take a lot of time, and obviously countries that have been affected by terrorism in Africa are going to be much more willing to share information in the long run. The other ones that have not weathered any terrorism until it happens to them, unfortunately, this is not going to be their priority.
OK, well, very interesting to talk to you. Olivier Guita, thanks very much indeed. And we are waiting to see David Cameron, who's there in Malta very shortly. So we'll keep a close eye on what's going on in Valletta, and we'll be back to them when we see him.